Hello everybody, Amy here. Um, Today I am talking about holiday plants like poinsettias, amaryllis, cyclamen, Christmas cactus, and just going to talk a little bit about each of them and how to take care of them and what to do to get them to bloom again, because I know people have troubles trying to figure out how to get like the Christmas cactus blooming again and all that. So before I get started, I am here at Fourth Floral, where most of you know is where I work. So today we're doing it in the greenhouse, so hopefully you can hear me okay. We have the fans going to keep it a little warmer in here. But I'm going to flip the camera so you can see all the beautiful poinsettias. We have lots growing. There's beautiful pink and white and lots of pixies over here, mixing with some geraniums. And so I guess first I will start about talking about the poinsettias, since that's the one you see right now. And I'm just going to have the camera flipped so you can see them instead of seeing me. So poinsettias, as some of you may know, is they come from Mexico, actually. And they come in many different colors. They come in like I'll show you here, the pinks and the whites, and then they're coming out with these kind of colors, like the two-toned. And we grow quite a few, like two different kinds in one pot. Those are always really pretty. So it seems like every year they're coming up with new and different colors too, so that's always exciting. So they are native to New Mexico, and they're actually in the euphorbia family. And of course they're, for us, they're a Christmas plant. And so these are the bracts, where what people think is the flower petals. And then actually in here is the flower. And I'll see if I can get one that is getting close to, like here. That's getting pretty close to blooming. So it'll be like yellow. Like right here. Here's one, a nice example of one starting. They're just really neat plants. And they also have species that they grow. We don't grow them here, but a species that they grow to make as cut flowers, which is always interesting. So how do they get their color? They get their color from the change of winter days. So shorter days is when they produce their color. They are poisonous, which is, a thing that most people have an issue with. And they can be poisonous to humans and to pets. They have a white milky sap that comes out if you break a leaf. You'll see this white sap coming out. And so that can cause a rash. And depending on the person, I suppose it can make them even sicker. And then, of course, having the pets is always a worry too, because they can be susceptible to getting sick if they ingest them. And you always wash your tools when you use the, if you have to trim a plant or anything like that. So for the lighting, you always want to have, the best is an east or a west window where they get the bright daylight. And the temperatures are usually 65 to 70, so you want it lower a little bit to be able, they need that lower cooling period to start to change their color. And you don't want them by any heat or drafts, or anything like that. And you want the soil to be moist and don't let them dry out. If they start drying out, they'll look kind of like this. The leaves will. And we do have a few poinsettia trees. You can see some back there, but they're not very red this year yet. So we're not quite sure what is happening with them. Unfortunately, that's, one thing that is a really cool thing is that we have these poinsettia trees, but this year they're just starting, so that makes it kind of frustrating because the churches use these in that, but oh well, such is 2020, right? Okay, so what else did I say? Oh, fertilizing, you would like to, you don't need to during the holidays. You can start fertilizing it when you see new growth, like in the spring. And just a general fertilizer is good. Or, you can use Miracle Grow and do it like half of what the recommended is. And you feed them every 3 to 4 weeks. And then you can do trimming and all that in the spring when you see new growth and that coming. And the soil that you want to use for them is like peat moss with a mixture of soil to make sure that they can stay moist. A light, not a heavy soil. And so now the question is, well, since you have this beautiful plant, how do you get it to rebloom come next Christmas? They're attractive green plants too. But getting them to rebloom is not easy. It requires excluding the light from the plant for a period of time while keeping the plant healthy. So because the reduction in the light prevents the plant from producing chlorophyll, which is the pigment that makes the plant parts green, it changes the bracts to red, pink, or white, and depending on the variety. So that's how they get them to change those different colors. So usually around New Year's Day, you can fertilize if you see new growth. You give it, adequate light and water for the rest of the winter. And then you have to, like around fall equinox or September, you give it 16 hours of uninterrupted darkness, in a closet or in a box, and 8 hours of bright light every day. And during the dark period, you cannot give it even the slightest bit of light at all. And you want the temperatures at night to be in the low 60s, and you continue to water it, and fertilize it. And you want to turn it to give it all the extra, so each side gets adequate growth and light. And then around Thanksgiving, you do the short and long night treatment still, and you start putting it in a sunny area that gets at least 6 hours of light. And then you reduce the watering and fertilizer. And then you will see that it's going to start turning the colors then after that point. And so you just take care of them, as you would water it, like when you first got it. So I think that's about everything with the poinsettias. And so now I think we will talk a little bit about the cyclamen, which is I have a couple right here. And These are always nice because there's something else that's a flowering plant during this time, and you can always get them in nice bright colors, um, you know, and they last long time. The blooms do, and they're pretty much similar to the poinsettias. Um, I think there is a hardy cyclamen, but that's zone 5, so of course it's not going to be for us. You cannot let these guys dry out. And, I mean, you don't want to over water them either. You water from below, kind of like you do with a African violet, because they don't really like water sitting on the leaves. So like a good example of water sitting on the leaves is right here. It just kind of sits and then it rots away the leaf. So you just want to pull that out if you see that. And then these flowers will die off, and they'll be, after that there will be there's this bulb that starts growing a seed pod. And if you keep those picked, it'll keep blooming a little bit longer. And they go into dormancy after they bloom. The leaves turn yellow and they fall off, and then it's like nothing. So if you know that, you won't freak out and think that you killed it, because a lot of people do. But it's just going dormant. So you let the leaves die off and you stop watering it, and you put it in a cool, somewhat dark place, like in a closet again or any of that. Once it's done with the dormant period, you can start watering it again. And then, because there's a tuber in there, so that tuber still grows, but, so you want to make sure that's not outgrowing the pot or it's not rotted. And then if it's rotted, then you know that it actually did die and not going dormant. And once it starts growing again, you can get that to rebloom. So that's that. And then I will talk about the holiday cactus, or the Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus. This year my spring cactus decided to bloom instead of my Christmas cactus, so that was pretty frustrating. So here is one of ours, and these come in all different colors also. Pinks, whites, orange, yellows, all sorts. So, and these guys, they can live for a very long time. There's a couple different types, and this is, definitely a Christmas cactus. They grow in the mountains of Brazil, so they grow up to 3,000 to 3,000 feet. So that means that they get cooler weather at nighttime, especially in the winter, but it's never very cold. So 55 to 60 degrees is a really great temperature if you can somehow have them in a that kind of cooler spot in the house to get them to bloom again. And that's one of the keys to doing that. And then they like the indirect light. So if it's like in a hallway or an entryway, but with a window that you could still, and it's cooler there, it's probably a good spot or by a window that is, a shadier window, a darker window would be good to get it to rebloom. Drainage, you can use soil, you can use regular soil. You just want to make sure that it's a good draining soil. Cactus soil works too. So, you know, in the rainforest, they receive frequent rains during the wet season, but then it doesn't stay. So the water, not really like when it's in the pots, the water drains away right away. So that's how they grow so well, because they of how they're watered in the wild. They get like maybe 2 to 3 inches of rainfall monthly, even in the dry season where they grow there. So that's pretty a little amount. They like fertilizer. You know, in the wild they have nutrients from decaying tree foliage and bird droppings and other natural fertilizers. So you can use a regular fertilizer if you need to. And they don't really get bugs too bad, whereas poinsettias don't either, which is good. But you can occasionally find them on them, like mealybug or scale. So you just use a household insecticide for that to get rid of them. And they don't really have many disease problems. The more light you give it, they'll turn darker. And some people don't like that. They think it's ugly, but some people do. So that's just a preference of yours, you know, but that's more light you give it, the darker that it'll be. And you can easily propagate them, you know, you just break off at a joint, and you can let that callus over, and then you stick that in the dirt, and it should root fairly easy. So that's a little bit about the Christmas cactus. And last but not least, I'm going to do amaryllis. And I've been waiting to do this video so I could do it just to show you this guy. And this is one of the ones that we sell here. This guy is called, let's see if I can, Charisma. So it's a nice pretty red with that white in there. That's just such a beautiful variety. So amaryllis are pretty easy. They also, you know, it always comes, the flower will always come first. As you can see, there's no leaves on the bulb. The leaves will come after. There the leaves are coming now. So if the leaves are coming on yours, you probably are not going to get a flower. But so you want to make sure that when you're planting it in the soil that you don't cover that bulb, because it'll rot fairly easy. So there's many different kinds of these too. I mean, there's ones that there's many petals in there, and they look like spiders. And they're just a really nice, beautiful plant that lasts through the holiday also. And to get them to bloom again is a trick too. People always have problems with them. So you want to have 6 to 8 weeks of it to be cool, dark area before it blooms again. So you want to be able to put it in a basement or you know, in a box, and keep it cool during that period. And then after it's done blooming, you know, you just treat it like a regular house plant, and in the summer it'll grow leaves, and which is fine. And you water it like normal. I put mine outside, and they get pretty big. And you want to give it. It can handle direct sun in the summer if you do put it outside. Just be careful, do gradually so you don't burn the leaves. So it grows pretty quickly, and it develops faster in a warm room temperatures and direct sunlight. And then when it finally blooms, the flowers will last for about 2 weeks, and then you can cut the stem after it's done blooming. I wait till it turns yellow, till this whole part turns yellow before I cut it off, because that just puts more energy into the plant, just like with tulips or anything else. Late summer though, you want to stop watering it and they'll die away, and then by October you put the bulb in a cool, dark place, because they come from Holland, and that's stored. That's how they do it. That's how it is in Holland. And if you do it sufficiently with temperature and the timing and the darkness and all that, like in the 50-degree range, the timetable of the blooming of the bulb will be changed. And then you put it in its dormant stage for about 8 to 12 weeks. And then you can bring it back out, and then it should start growing again. So, and when you're choosing bulbs from the store, you want them firm. The larger the bulb, the more flowers on the stem. Now you see how big this is. Just a normal size bulb, but I mean, we have bulbs that are as big as this container, 6 inches. They're big bulbs. And if you can't plant it right away, make sure you put it in a cool, dry place. And then you could plant them, intervals of every 2 weeks, so you have consistent blooms all through the season, which would be nice. And they don't smell. They should smell. None of these smell. I wish they did. But I think that's about it. Yeah, so I'll give you one more look around, and if there's any questions, you can put it in the comments, or you can reach out to me. And that's all I got. So have a good day. Thanks for listening. Bye.